the headquarters of Telesur English in Caracas, Venezuela. I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. We begin in Latin America. Interpol has issued a red notice against the leader of Colombia's National Liberation Army. The judiciary in Colombia has filed charges against Nicolás Rodríguez Bautista, alias Gabino, for aggravated homicide and criminal recruitment. Some fear this will put the peace dialogue with the ELN at risk. Meanwhile, FARC member Iván Márquez says modifications made to the 2016 peace agreement are a betrayal. He believes the group was naive to lay down its weapons before the deal was implemented. On their part, Colombian authorities have accused him and other members of not being committed to peace.
Also today, Iván Márquez and Oscar Montero have given a first statement on wanting to continue with the process. It's very important that they respond to the judge.
Our correspondent, José Manuel Jiménez, has more.
The contents of the letter from Iván Márquez and Oscar Montero were made public in Colombia on Tuesday. However, the controversial move was criticized by politicians who say the document should instead have been sent to the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. It all began on September 17th when the Peace Commission wrote the two former FARC fighters whose whereabouts are unknown. The commission asked them if they intended to continue the peace process. Márquez and Montero wrote back to the commission. The FARC party has said it agrees with concerns outlined by Márquez and Montero about great difficulty in implementing peace agreements. The United Nations has called for its implementation and for an end to paramilitarism. That request has fallen on deaf ears. Instead, armed groups continue to murder social leaders across regions. They also say there's a serious problem with the delivery of justice. Case in point, the Jesus Santrich case. We still don't know whether or not he will be extradited. Months ago, public prosecutors announced that they are in possession of evidence in the form of audio recordings of persons allegedly involved in drug trafficking. However, just a few days ago, the very same public prosecutor said it is in fact the U.S. government which is in possession of that evidence and not them. Meanwhile, Márquez is attempting to discredit this evidence. The FARC has told Iván Márquez to join the party and to follow the political path they signed in order to find solutions.
That was José Manuel Jiménez from Colombia. Peru's Supreme Court has overturned the pardon given to former President Alberto Fujimori. The court has ordered Fujimori's arrest and that he'll be returned to prison where he was serving a 25-year sentence for human rights abuses. The court found grounds to uphold a civil appeal against this pardon granted last December by then-President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski. Fujimori's pardon and release led to widespread protests, and Kuczynski was forced to resign 2 months later. Fujimori's daughter, Keiko, says she will appeal the court's decision. She believes her father has the right to be pardoned.
Today is one of the saddest days of our lives. It is extremely painful to know a judge from our country has taken away my father's freedom, saying that because he's not dying, he has no right to a humanitarian pardon.
The Peruvian government, on its part, says it respects the court's decision. In a public statement, the government says the judiciary has independence to take its own decisions. Relatives of the Cantuta and Barrios Altos victims in Peru have responded to Fujimori's pardon annulment. The relatives have requested that the Board of Medical Examiners evaluate Fujimori, who was admitted to the Centennial Clinic in the afternoon.
Family members have always been respectful of the judicial authorities in our country, their decision and the inter-American system of human rights. The resolution that was given today by Judge Núñez Yurka gives us peace of mind to know that we have been heard and that we feel respect by a justice system that reflects the need to guarantee rights and justice for the victims. and therefore comply with the sentence established to one of the people who was primarily responsible for the death and disappearance of our relatives.
Let's go to our correspondent, Jaime Herrera, who has the latest.
We are outside the home of former President Alberto Fujimori. Just a few minutes ago, his daughter Keiko was here, but she quickly left after speaking to the media. She was literally in tears. She said this is one of the worst days of her life, as her father will have to return to prison again. We now await the judiciary's official instruction to the police to comply with the judge's order to detain the former president again. He had already been serving a 25-year sentence for crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, relatives of the victims and human rights organizations have said they will speak to the media as well, but they declare that justice has been served. A complaint had been filed at the Inter-American Court of Human Rights against the pardon Fujimori received. The International Court then asked the judiciary to review the decision and to determine if the pardon was in compliance with the law. Police forces are waiting outside Fujimori's home. They're waiting for an arrest order to be issued. Some supporters of the former president are also gathered here.
That was Jaime Herrera from Peru. Chile's Archbishop appeared at the prosecutor's office accused of covering up sex abuse by members of the clergy. Cardinal Ricardo Esati exercised his right to remain silent. He faces charges of concealing the sexual abuse and rape of at least 7 children by priest Oscar Muñoz, who was arrested in July of this year. The judiciary is currently investigating 119 sexual abuse cases and an alleged pedophile network in the Chilean church.
The truth is, the right to remain silent is expressly established within our penal processing code for all those accused of crimes. Additionally, it's true that our legislation establishes a very important aspect, which is that to exercise that right does not bring about any negative consequences.
Coming up, more stories. We'll be back.
The Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali examines the mass media influence promoted by imperialism. Get access to the analysis of the socio-economic and political life of the whole South America on our screen and platform in English. A critical place committed to the truth to determine the major events that transform the world today. Mondays, only on Telesur. Telesur brings you special interviews with social and political personalities. Monday, from Washington. Tuesday, from Mexico. Wednesday, from Caracas. Thursday, from Quito. Friday, from Havana. Analysis about our continent's reality. Weekdays, only on Telesur. In a world infested by inequalities, abuse of power, and injustice, the American journalist Abby Martin covers the struggle for fundamental rights worldwide. Deep into the search of files which uncover the empire's strategies. Through our screen and web platform in English. The Empire Files with Abby Martin. Tuesday, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. With 4 days to go until Brazil's general elections, the candidates are making their final bid for votes. A series of recent polls commissioned by the mainstream media show the Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad firmly in second place at around 21%. That puts him ahead of any rivals from the center-left and center-right. But polls also suggest that far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro has extended his lead in first place with around 31%. On Tuesday, Haddad warned that the Brazilian elite is trying to bring back the far-right. Meanwhile, the leader of the landless workers' movement, João Pedro Stedile, told Telesur he doesn't believe that there is mass support for fascism in Brazil.
We know that the fascists put all their financial and media resources and their influence over the courts into this. But we have the people. There is no real support for fascism in Brazilian society to sustain Bolsonaro's candidacy. So he's reached his peak of about 30%. He can't go beyond that. And in the second round, all the activists of all social movements will go door to door, explaining to people what this coup means, what the capitalists, the gringos, and the fascists want. And on October 28th, we'll achieve a great victory for Haddad. We're confident we'll win.
In Argentina, former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner will face a public trial on the investigation into alleged corruption. Edgardo Esteban has more details.
As the 2019 presidential election approached, support of former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner grows and likewise the political persecution against her. She is accused of embezzlement. According to the judge, she allegedly used funds from the public budget for real estate transactions. Fernández will face an oral and public trial. The former president believes this judicial persecution is linked to the government of Mauricio Macri with the collaboration of some media corporations. Judge Claudio Bonadio has already asked for her immunity as a senator to be stripped. These judicial decisions are marked by the beginning of the electoral campaign for 2019. Some say the judiciary will take its decision based on this electoral campaign. Fernandez's situation is compared to the former Brazilian President Lula da Silva currently in prison.
Also in Argentina, many are denouncing Argentina's President Mauricio Macri for inciting violence by using the same words used by Adolf Hitler in a tweet. According to several political leaders, Macri used the words social poison and evil people on his official Twitter account. These words were used in a passage in Hitler's book Mein Kampf. A number of political leaders say that he is promoting hate and intimidation. So let's go back to our correspondent Edgardo Esteban, who also explains what happened here.
A few days ago, as Macri was participating in a campaign event, he visited a pizza restaurant opened by a couple who were former public workers that were laid off due to Macri's labor reforms in the public sector. He praised their efforts, and a video of the meeting was published on social media. So this was strongly rejected by several sectors of society. Macri took to Twitter to respond to the critics, accusing the Kirchner political supporters of attacking the couple using the words social poison and evil people, which are found in Adolf Hitler's book Mein Kampf. These actions were then denounced by political leaders, judges, constitutional attorneys, and human rights defenders. This incident also related back to the fact that Macri's closest advisor, Jaime Durán Barba, also spoke about Hitler and called him a spectacular person. Widespread rejection of Macri continues to grow.
That was Edgardo Esteban. Now we go to Central America, in Nicaragua, where another day of the walk for peace, life, justice, and human rights for all was developed. The Sandinista Front's militancy continues to mobilize festively, leaving aside the terrorism shadow that months ago tried to destabilize the country. The dialogue between Nicaraguans has been promoted from the government of Daniel Ortega. This was done to achieve reconciliation and peace, respecting diversity. Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly is discussing the framework to regulate its cryptocurrency, the Petro, which was launched globally earlier this week.
Venezuela's cryptocurrency has become an international exchange currency. The Petro is a tool that is expected to attract new investments to the country. According to President Nicolás Maduro, it will be key for the country's economic recovery.
October 1st, 2018 is a historic date for Venezuela. A new technology has been born. Our own technology, our own effort in a free and independent country. Our own oil-backed cryptocurrency, the Petro, has been born. Welcome, Petro. You're aimed at strengthening our economic recovery program.
The National Constituent Assembly's Economic Commission has presented a bill to regulate the cryptocurrency market. The aim is fighting the economic war Venezuela is suffering.
This bill approaches a series of concepts, such as blockchain and crypto actives. It also proposes the creation of a superintendent to regulate cryptocurrency circulation in the country, to establish the exchange mechanism and how the operation should be taken. So this bill is a revolution for the finances of the country, and it gives us currency sovereignty. We believe it is a main contribution for the economic recovery program that wants to grow and prosperity.
Venezuelans support the economic recovery program, whose main key is the digital currency. Experts say cryptocurrencies are the way to recover economic independence.
The goal of this currency for Venezuela is to be able to use it in the foreign market, so both the state and private businessmen are able to trade globally, to sell and buy with petros. For instance, in the oil market, in the area called Petrocaribe, that's the proper place to start using petro to replace dollars as exchange currency.
Venezuela is set to increase its investments and international purchase throughout its cryptocurrency, the Petro. It will be negotiated through 6 international houses for the exchange of digital currencies. On October 29, Venezuela will also hold a meeting for cryptocurrency experts.
We'll take one last short break, but stay with us.
With developing events being presented through analysis. Our coverage transcends borders. With renowned journalist Walter Martinez.
Salud, amigos, tripulantes de nuestra querida, contaminada y única nave espacial.
Dossier. Weekdays. Only on Telesur.
Y ponga usted las cámaras, señor director.
Follow the most important global events through a comprehensive perspective. A team of journalists in 25 locations around the world. 3 broadcasts to convey our people's reality. From the South. Weekdays. Only on Telesur. An occasion to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along to find out the story behind these personalities, traditions, and artistic expressions that unite us as a whole. Real Lives. Saturdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Russia's Energy Week is being held in Moscow with the purpose of evaluating the main hydrocarbon challenges. Our correspondent Hansel Oro brings us more.
Russian Energy Week is being held in Moscow now until October 6, with the aim of discussing the different challenges in this sector. Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak also explained that Russia has no intention of monopolizing the gas market in Europe, especially with the accusations made by US President Donald Trump, who spoke about the alleged interference of Russia of energy. Russian President Vladimir Putin refers to the negotiations with competition by other countries we are interested in exporting natural gas to European countries. Remember that the President of the United States has made accusations about the Nord Stream pipeline, which will be located in Russia, below the Baltic Sea, leading to Germany and transporting 55 billion cubic meters of gas, as Trump was emphasizing the supposed dependence on European countries. They also discussed environment policies, oil production, and the stability of crude oil prices under international level, starting from the 2016 agreement seeking the balance of supply as well as demand.
That was Hansel Oro from Russia. And President Vladimir Putin advocated for a multipolar world of respect and understanding in a speech on Wednesday. Putin said that Moscow has no plans to monopolize the gas market, while also saying that U.S. President Donald Trump has attempted to destabilize the market. Putin also spoke about the case of former Russian spy Sergei Skripal, who he described as a traitor to his country for lending himself to the manipulation of media. During the forum, Putin also denounced the terrorist methods used to attack the government and people of Venezuela.
I've said this before, but I'll say it once more. We had a very good meeting with the United States President in Helsinki. Yes, we have touched this issue that we are discussing now, the increase in oil prices. I will say, Trump, if you want to find responsibility for the increase in the oil price, you should look in the mirror. It is true, we just talk about geopolitical factors in price increases. It really affects the market. It is better not to interfere in the process of the market, not to try to obtain competitive advantage with the aid of political tools, and not to try to regulate the prices. The Venezuelan people must decide, nobody else in the world. As for the use of various tools of influence in the situation of Venezuela, there shouldn't be such strong influence in one direction or another. We influence mutually. They should not be tools that worsen the situation of citizens. It is a crucial question. Are we glad that people are living with difficulties there? Do we want to make it worse in order to get rid of Maduro? Not long ago, an attempt against him, an attempt to kill him. Are we going to salute this method of political struggle? I believe that it is completely unacceptable. Not one, not another, or anything similar.
The new president of Iraq, Barham Salih, was inaugurated in Baghdad. Salih highlighted the efforts of former President Fuad Massoum, who was also present at the event. He said the transfer of power was democratic and transparent. He also said it's an important step towards strengthening the democratic values of the country. For his part, Massoum wished the new president success and strength in his new mission working for the welfare of all citizens. A Palestinian teenager has been killed in Gaza during a protest in the border with Israel. The young boy died when a tear gas canister fired by Israeli troops hit him in the head. 24 people were wounded near the border fence of the Gaza Strip. At least 193 Palestinians have been killed since March by Israeli forces. A high court judge in Zimbabwe has ordered state police to compensate a woman assaulted by security forces in a 2016 anti-government protest. According to court summons, Lilian Chinyere was brutally assaulted by armed riot police officers while sitting near a court entrance. The officers kicked her and struck her several times with truncheons. Police was ordered to pay her $13,000. South Africa's finance minister has testified against former President Jacob Zuma in a trial for corruption. Zuma is accused of benefiting the wealthy Gupta family while in office. The family is investigated for profiting from government contracts in the energy and transport sectors. It's alleged that the family even interfered when it came to appointing ministers. The wife of Malaysia's former Prime Minister Rosman Mansor has been arrested and now faces money laundering charges. She was linked to a multi-billion-dollar scandal that helped bring down the latest government. She was previously questioned for several hours at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Mansor faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted. Egypt is holding a sand sculpture exhibition in an outdoor museum in the town of Hurghada. Sculptures of the Sphinx, the pyramids, and even superheroes were made using only sand and water. This year, 17 artists from different countries made around 30 sculptures known as Sand City. This is the only open-air museum for sand sculptures in Africa and the Middle East. And with that, we come to the end of this news brief. But this and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurtv.net/English. Here you can find all our latest pictures and videos and all the latest information that we had today. So go check it out. You can also join us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.